I ended up having to defend myself in court. But again, that was a kangaroo.
They're all kangaroo.
Every one of them.
Everyone. So
Some bigger kangaroos than others.
Yep. Okay, so, well, we'll talk about successes with the do-it-yourself Form 1020 form.
How long's this presentation?
depends how many
Nelson says,
questions
go
you
ahead and
ask.
do it, and then he says, how
It's
long
got
is the
53
presentation?
slides. It's how, as long as it takes
Well, that's fine.
with the
Some of them have
interruptions.
200, some have 200 slides.
Yeah. So it depends on the interruptions.
Well said.
I put it politely by saying depends on how many questions there are.
The Form 1020 is a made-up form. Kerry Zolman came up with the idea, and it's brilliant. I've successfully used the Form 1020 for judgments, bank debt, property taxes, IRS taxes, toll road tolls. I think you can use the Form 1020 for any government debt or corporate debt, because they all want Federal Reserve notes. Or Bank of Canada notes, or Bank of England notes. I don't think it matters.
Do they have to present an invoice to you, or can you just?
Oh, they have to send you a bill.
Yeah.
I'm not a liar. Well, I meant a lawyer. No, I meant a liar. You should never take my word for anything. You should always do your own research. I provided references to aid you in your research, but I don't know everything, and I'm open to any ideas. There's 4 types of people you'll meet in your life. There's the people who try to wake up the slaves. There's the slave masters. There's the people who have no idea they're slaves. And there's the people who like being slaves. Which one are you? Do you really know for sure? Are you who you think you are? If you can see through the illusion, then you are the solution. If the people don't know their basic rights and freedoms, how can they know when or if their rights and freedoms are being infringed? And boy, isn't that the truth. Never forget the men who started this country were marijuana-growing, whiskey-drinking, tax-evading rebels who got their beds at night to shoot the pigs. Well, I meant the cops. No, I meant the pigs. All tyranny needs to gain a foothold is for people of good conscience to remain silent. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. I don't trust the military industrial complex. I don't trust the mainstream media. I don't trust the bankster criminal cabal that owns the government, owns the medical, pharmaceutical, industrial complex, owns the military industrial complex, and owns the mainstream media. If you call me a conspiracy theorist, then I don't trust you. Government's not reason, it's not eloquence, it is force. Like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. And I don't know why that went off the bottom there. Anyways, so the Form 1020, there's a franchise tax board, Brown versus Franchise Tax Board, which is a California Supreme Court case, talks about Federal Reserve notes, essentially says that you cannot pay a debt with a debt.
That's right, because, well, Kerry always says you can't, if you can take your payment coupon for your car in to pay your property tax bill, that's paying a debt with a debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Form 1020 says that you want to lawfully pay for the debt. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to pay a debt with a Federal Reserve note.
Yeah.
Or a Bank of Canada note, or any of these notes. I've never seen them complete the form. They won't complete the form. You have to get the bar members. You got to invite the bar members.
So you know what happened to me in court? After the case, we were standing in the hallway, still in the locked area of the hallway outside the courtroom. They wouldn't let me out of there until the judge came back with the amount that I owed. So he gives me this little Post-it note with 764 on it and a $ sign with 2 vertical lines on it.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, now he fucked up because the only currency that has 2 vertical lines are US dollars.
Right.
Right? So he gives me this thing, and he's sitting there smiling at me, and
And it's a
the
Post-it
cop,
note.
the cop's sitting there and smiling at me. And I said, "What's this?" He says, "This is how much you owe." So I pulled out my Form 1020, the one I use in court, and gave it to him. He takes it, crumbles it up, and throws it on the floor. But he took it. He took delivery of it.
Well, so I think the way I would have approached them is I would have said, well, there, Judge, we've got a conundrum here. Because You can't ask for gold or silver coin because there's none in general circulation. And I know you don't want to ask for Federal Reserve notes because that would be perjury of oath. And I know you don't want to perjure your oath. So we've got a conundrum here.
What are you asking for?
That's right. You got to tell me what to pay. You want buttons? But I think what you should do is I think you ought to just dismiss this matter. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just flat out tell them.
Or you say, well, if you don't tell me, then you're leaving it up to me. Is that correct?
If that's, yeah, right, yeah, that's right. And I'm offering to pay. I'm ready and willing and able to pay whatever you want me to pay. Tell me what to pay.
Yeah.
And this is an offer to pay under your private international law called the Uniform Commercial Code. And if you don't accept my offer to pay, then it has to be discharged.
And the offer is lawful money.
No.
No.
The offer is whatever you tell me to pay.
Currency.
No.
The offer is whatever you tell
You
me to
don't
pay.
put anything in his
Therefore-
mouth. You don't tell him
No.
shit.
No.
Yeah.
You're right.
So therefore, when you instruct them, question them, what do you want me to pay?
I'd say there's a conundrum here. I just told you. How many times do I have to say it?
The point is the perjury of oath is because it's against the Constitution. of the
Because the
United States.
Article 1, Section 10 says gold or silver coin.
I understand.
And you can't ask for gold or silver coin because it's not in general circulation.
And the Supremacy Clause says the statutes or the laws of the United States.
That the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land.
Right. So what's the law of the land, 31 U.S.C. 3124, where it says stocks and obligations of the United States government are not taxable by a state or...
But that's immaterial at that
No,
point.
you're getting into their codes and statutes. His
That's
point
right.
is, because
Don't give them anything.
don't give them anything. Stick to the constitutionality, because that's their oath. Their oath, you have the signed oath of everyone you're going in against?
I have a signed oath, but it's not been notarized for him.
You don't give them anything. I mean, you ever listen, Kerry Zolman is perfect. He doesn't give them anything. And you don't give them anything. Tell me what to pay. I want to pay. I know you can't tell me Federal Reserve notes because that's perjury of oath. And I know you can't tell me gold or silver coin because there's none in general circulation. So tell me what to pay. I want to pay, and this is an offer to pay under your Uniform Commercial Code. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't accept my offer to pay, the debt is discharged.
Yep. Simple.
And I would just confront them.
Well, I'm going to try this against the library trustees who have an oath, but basically any time I go in, because they have an offer to pay as far as the sign of how much they want every time I print a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Nelson, you're fucking pissing in the wind if you're doing the library. Do your fucking house.
Yeah, right.
I don't own anything.
You don't own this?
No.
His brother
I don't own
does.
anything.
Well, help your brother out.
Look, they have to do it themselves. You can't help people. They have to want to help
That's
themselves.
true. I cannot do things
So
for
just the
him.
answer
He's
is
got
no.
to be the one to do it.
I want to take the library trustees down because I print thousands of dollars worth of stuff. You don't understand. That's why they hate me.
So you're doing it for retribution purposes.
No, I can't. I don't have unlimited cash to give them when they have to pay for it. I don't have to pay for it. I have thousands of dollars of potential printing bills because of all the forms, all the papers I have to file for all the criminal complaints. It's reams of paper.
That is a shitload of
And
paper.
go try to, you may have the money to pay for ink and paper and electricity. I get in there, they give me a computer and all the free
Especially at
paper and
15
ink I
cents a
want.
page. Damn.
Well,
I have
even
my
if
own
it-
printer.
No, but even that's money.
I know it is. And it costs, I spend a lot of money on that.
Right, so wouldn't you rather spend nothing?
I'd rather just
Of
do
course.
it at home than go down the library.
Yeah, me too.
No.
Anyways, Title 18, United States Code, Section 8 talks about obligation or other security of the United States defined. The term obligation or other security of the United States includes all bonds, certificates of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes, Federal Reserve bank notes, coupons, United States notes, Treasury notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, fractional notes, certificates of deposits, bills, checks, drafts, for money drawn upon or by or upon authorized officers of the United States, stamps, and other representatives of value of whatever denomination issued under any act of Congress, and cancel United States stamps. So,
Oh, by the way, one thing Kerry's evolved to, I listened to his call on Tuesday.
yes.
One thing he's evolved to for the 1020 is that he will, if they don't answer him, he will staple or he'll send a payment into them or hand carry a payment to the payment window, which it calls for in the tender of payment UCC code.
Mhm.
He'll take it to the payment window with either Mexican pesos or the best one is Colombian pesos, because Colombian pesos are $1,836 per US dollar.
That's one of his strategies, yes,
And
but he
he
doesn't
hands
necessarily
it
do that
to
all the
him,
time.
and he
Yes.
says, if this isn't the right one, please tell me what is. But otherwise, we've tendered payment, and we're done. This is discharged.
Mhm.
And so they either have to take it or tell them what they want. He does it right at the window, and it says, anyone who's set up to receive, he wants to give it to the person that's required to receive payment. Okay? Follow the UCC code, the tender of payment code, and do it to the right person, and now you're done. You have a witness there that's filming it if they can.
Yeah, but so then it's not a lawyer, they don't have an oath of office, and they'll tell you, well, we want Federal Reserve notes.
Yeah, so then you take them to court.
And that's why I have the oaths of the trustees, and it says they're required under the Constitution of the United States to,
You ask them, are you the person required to take payment based off of UCC 3- whatever it is? And if they say yes, then tell me what it is if you're not willing to accept these Colombian pesos.
So it's interesting, that's interesting, but so back to this, stamps, checks, remember and drafts of money drawn by or upon officers of the United States, it cancels stamps. They circulate those things on Wall Street. Title 31, United States Code, Section 3124, exempt from taxation. Stocks and obligations of the United States government are exempt from taxation by a state or political subdivision of a state. The exemption applies to each form of taxation that would require the obligation, the interest on the obligation, or both, to be considered in computing the tax, except a non-discriminatory franchise tax or another non-property tax instead of a franchise tax imposed on a corporation and an estate or inheritance tax. So again, that's evidence right there that they're dealing with a corporation.
Yeah, so the first time I bought Kerry's book on his tax book, IRS, what the IRS won't tell you, his book on that, and he had this in there. I had the book for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I ran across this page. My father happened to pass away around that same time, and we were settling the estate with the county.
Mhm.
And so I called the lawyer, and the lawyer wouldn't listen to me about anything. He just ignored everything I said. So when we went to the title company who was doing the transfer of the thing, I pointed out the exemptions that they have in Michigan, and one says if it violates a rule of the Constitution or a law of the United States, there's no tax.
Mhm.
So I gave the transfer, or the manager for the title company, I gave her 31 U.S.C. 3124 and Title 18 U.S.C. 8. I gave her those two, and she brought it to the county, and she got we paid the money for the transfer tax, but then she got it refunded.
Nice.
And she said to my sister, who was the executor for the estate, she says, your brother's a genius.
I never saw that
I
before.
never saw that before.
Cool.
So that only relates to taxation by states, that's not federal taxation. Because
State or political subdivision of the state, right?
It's the United
Yeah.
States, it's a state.
Yeah, but I'm talking about federal government. So if the federal government are trying to tax you using the
It's the
FRNs,
United
then
States.
It's a state.
It's a federal, it's
The State Department.
I
a
don't know.
foreign state.
Right.
Remember the three city-states, London, Vatican?
But no, because the stocks and obligations of the United States government, which is federal,
Yep.
are exempt from taxation by a state or political subdivision of a
The
state.
state is the United States government, and the political subdivision is the New Jersey or Cape May County or.
But it's a state, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
It's not
here's-
federal government.
Carl, here's another way to think about it. What Glenn showed earlier is that you can't pay a debt with a debt. And it says so in the federal laws. So you go back to 31 U.S.C. 3124, which is their law. It's a federal statute. They can't pay a debt. You can't pay a debt with a debt. So Federal Reserve notes would be paying a debt with a debt.
No, because there's another section of their code that says Federal Reserve notes are for use only by the federal government.
Yeah. So you can't
Well,
pay it with it. You
And,
can't.
in the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, it says they're meant for internal use in the District of Columbia only.
Correct. Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
you-
referring to.
You
so-
can't use them, so what can you pay with? They've got to tell you what you can pay with, because you can't use them, because you can only use them if you're in the District of Columbia.
The reason I asked the question though is your states are obviously away from it, but federal government, the FRNs are made for use by the federal government.
Exactly.
So if you are a member of the federal government or an agent of the federal government,
Yep.
then
But you're not, are you?
I'm certainly not, no. But what I'm saying is that can US citizens who have a social security number and all this other stuff be attached,
They
well,
tr-
attached as a federal government agent?
They try to, unless you fill out an SS5-FS and claim that you're not. See, they have United States
You're
citizen.
foreign.
Yeah, you do other, and then you put in 8 USC 1101 A21, and it says that you're a state national. So now all of a sudden you're not part of their jurisdiction.
So you would have to do that, that's all I'm trying to say. You would have to
Yep.
segregate, and this is saying there is a segregation.
Mhm.
Sorry, Glenn, go ahead.
You see the angle?
Mm.
You can apply.
Okay, keep moving. This is Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1. No state shall coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold or silver coin, and tender in the payment of debts. This is Texas Business Commerce Code.
Go back to that one once a second. You say there is no lawful money in general circulation since 1965.
Right.
So, what are treasury bonds?
Well, that's not lawful money.
It is.
Treasury bonds?
Yeah.
Well, that's not in general circulation. And why is that lawful money?
Because it says it is. If you look at the definition, go to Investopedia. Let's see. And what about postal money orders?
Treasury bonds.
Investopedia, lawful money definition. Lawful money is any form of currency issued by the United States Treasury and not the Federal Reserve System. So treasury bonds are issued by the United States Treasury, right? It includes gold
Well-
and silver coins, treasury notes, and treasury bonds. So you get treasury bonds that are lawful money. That's where
It includes what?
it includes gold and silver coins, treasury notes, and treasury bonds. Those are the three things.
Well, all I see here is what the Constitution says.
Right, see, you-
And it doesn't say anything about bonds or
I
notes.
agree.
Well, I was just looking at your last paragraph. It says there is no lawful money in general circulation. So
Well,
this is
Based
saying,
on the definition of the
Yeah.
Constitution, the Constitution doesn't mention bonds, it just mentions gold or silver,
I
so
know.
I think that's why that is.
It's the supreme law of the land. So I don't care what some treasury, whatever says. This is the supreme law of the land?
Yeah, they redefined lawful money to suit themselves.
Well, of course they did. Texas Business and Commerce Code 1.201. This is equivalent to Uniform Commercial Code. Money means a medium of exchange currently authorized or adopted by domestic or foreign government. The term includes a monetary unit of account established by an intergovernmental organization or by agreement between two or more countries. So, you know, I mean, we're going to use that? That's not constitutional. A party as distinguished from a third party, they go on, these lawyers lay awake at night with this stuff. A party as distinguished from a third party means a person that is engaged in a transaction or made agreement subject to this title. Okay, so a transaction is commercial. At common law, only gold and silver were legal tender. That's why this works in Canada. There's a distinguish between a debt discharged and one paid. When discharged, the debt still exists, so divested of its character as a legal obligation during the operation of the discharge. You know, these banksters and these bar members come lay awake at night with this stuff. But so, that's what happens when you use a Federal Reserve notice. You discharge debts with limited liability. Copies of these documents can be found on my website. For a complete set of YouTube videos with private information, shares a DVD with over 50 searchable law dictionaries, and other books and forms, contact me privately at engineerwin@yahoo.com. Donations to support this work are appreciated. I prefer gold or silver coin, but as an extremely less desirable alternative, I can accept the fake money, the military script, the IOUs, the Federal Reserve notes, the PayPal gifts, the checks, the money orders. Send me an email for particulars. This is the Gold Reserve Act of 1934, located at 48 Stat 337. As used in this act, the term United States means government of the United States, means currency of the United States, means currency which is legal tender in the United States, and includes United States notes and Federal Reserve notes. So therefore, Federal Reserve notes are meant for District of Columbia only. And that's why I go after them for perjury of oath.
Brilliant. I saw that crystal clear today. What you're saying, you've been saying it, but
Right. Well, this is shrinking down that section 15 in the Gold Reserve Act because there's a bunch of stuff that's not there. But this is what it says. And I mean, if you want to go and pull the whole thing up, and we can pull it up, but you'll find that's what it says.
the perjury of oath aspect is what I'm referring to.
Okay.
Like the power of that.
Right.
The power of that.
That's right.
Like that's why the tax collector, he didn't have a perjury, he didn't have any oath at all, ever.
Yeah, but the which tax collector? IRS?
No, Ocean City.
Okay, I guarantee his boss has an oath. Okay,
Who?
whoever his boss is, I don't know.
No, well, that's the.
Is he an elected?
The mayor has an oath. I
Well,
guarantee you.
They didn't, that was my point.
Oh well.
Is
I
the
had
tax collector-
65 public employees marched into City Hall and signed an oath after I got done.
Okay, well that's good.
None of them had it. The tax collector, the tax assessor, the.
Yeah, but they're supposed to have an oath.
But they didn't at all.
That's what he's saying, they did, so they perjured
Right.
themselves when they were.
No, but now.
Well,
he-
no, they're actually then they're impersonating a public servant.
That's right.
Yeah, which is an
That's
official.
worse.
treason.
That's worse.
And so your point, the point I'm making that you help me understand clearly now is that the perjury of oath is they're demanding something that's unconstitutional, and that's why they have to say no. There's no court case, there's no nothing.
Right.
They are going to jail or being charged
Right.
if they proceed one step further.
But you have to charge them.
Or you have to have some people that want to be judges.
And you don't want to charge them, you want to claim.
Well, the point is that that's why they stop short and don't go any further, if they know their job. That's why they make it go in the file or whatever that you're talking about, because of the perjury of oath.
And the people of this town should bless the ground that you're here, because otherwise they would be slaves if they knew what's going on. Anyways, Federal Reserve notes are commercial paper. Federal Reserve notes are a forced loan. Federal Reserve notes are IOUs. All commercial paper falls into two categories. Promissory notes are IOUs. I don't care what it is, stocks, bonds, anything. It's either a promissory note or an IOU. And a requirement for a promissory note is it has to have a promise to pay. So then by definition, they're IOUs. Gold certificates and silver certificates were promissory notes, but they're still commercial paper. They're still only applicable in the District of Columbia.
Gold and silver,
Certificates.
Gold and silver certificates.
were only applicable in the
District of Columbia.
Cool.
Yeah, because they're a negotiable instrument.
So the states were issuing their own currency at some time, right?
Yeah, some of them. Well, I'm not sure if they were. I'm not sure how that worked. I know that when they had banknotes, a lot of the banks, there was private banks issuing their own banknotes. And it all went to the Federal Reserve.
I know Ducey was thinking about issuing some currency for Arizona.
Was it gold or silver coin?
Yeah, it's gold backed.
Well, still a negotiable instrument. I don't think you can. I think the only thing that they might be able to issue would be coin.
Really?
I think so. And I think that even then, they'd have to, I'm not sure. I think that they might be able to issue coin.
Why?
Because it says that in the Constitution, it says that, what does it say? It says something like that the mint shall not charge for coining gold or silver.
It says no state shall coin money.
Oh, there you go.
That's
You're
the
right.
problem.
Yeah,
They
that's
can't.
right. They can't.
That's why the federal government is not who they say they are, because they're not coining any money.
Right.
And the state can't.
No, but what the states do is they make gold or silver coin legal tender. But that really doesn't mean anything, because people are still going to use the Federal Reserve notes.
Yeah.
And if you tender the gold or silver coin, so the bill is for $5, and if you tender 5 silver eagles, you just paid way more than what you could have paid with $5 in Federal Reserve notes.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So it still doesn't do anything, really. It makes some people feel good, but that's about it.
Well, what it might do is it might take care of this argument. People want to pay in gold or silver coin. It allows people to come in with gold or silver coin in Arizona if they do that, and they screw themselves by doing that.
Right.
But it gets rid of this argument in the Form 1020, because now they can come in and demand gold or silver coin.
Well, it's not in general circulation. Still not in general circulation.
But if they make it in Arizona, general circulation.
Well, it still wouldn't be in general circulation, because, yeah, it's legal tender, but that doesn't mean it's in general circulation. I mean, silver eagles are legal tender.
If they
It says
issue,
$1 on it.
if they issue it, isn't it
Yeah,
in
but it's
general
only-
circulation?
Well, they
No,
can't
only
issue.
in Arizona.
Is that?
No
Only in
state.
Arizona.
It's illegal.
But full
They're
faith and
committing
credit
to
for
federal.
all the different states.
It's a constitutional violation.
It is.
They cannot coin money.
That's why they grabbed that at Utah. They were doing that up in Utah.
Really?
In Texas,
Yeah.
they
were minting silver.
they have a depository, and in the Republic of Texas, we have silver coins. Okay, but the silver coin doesn't say anything about $1 on it. It just says 1 unit. Okay, it doesn't say $1. Republic of Texas has silver coins. I could show you some. I got some. I had some of
Very
that
sharp.
bag.
They're sharp looking.
Yeah.
They did a nice job on
Well, we own the dies, so we make money off of those things. That's one way the Republic makes money, is by selling silver. And so, anyways.
Cool.
What?
I said, cool. That's
Yeah.
cool.
So this is General Orders 100, which is the Libra Code. Article 37, this rule does not interfere with the right of the victorious invader to tax the people or their property, to levy forced loans, to billet soldiers, or to appropriate property, especially houses, lands, boats, ships, or churches, for temporary and military uses. So that means they have to pay for it. That means it's also temporary.
Yeah, but what do they mean by temporary?
Well, yeah, no
They've
joke.
been doing it for 100+ years.
Yeah, no shit. This is Chisholm versus Georgia. In despotic governments, the government is usurped in a similar manner both upon the state and the people. Hence, all arbitrary doctrines and pretensions concerning the supreme, absolute, and incontrollable power of government in each man is degraded from the prime rank which he ought to hold in human affairs, In the latter, the state as well as the man is degraded. Of both degradations, striking instances occur in history and politics and in common life, and I'd say it's happening now. Here. Cryptocurrency is not a forced loan. Anything can be used of a medium of exchange as long as you agree to it. I mean, it's barter. The forced loans of 1862 and 1863 in the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They formed a part of the public debt of the United States. During the Civil War, they paid government employees with treasury notes. Government employees were forced to loan the government money. When the government employees are paid treasury notes or bank notes, it's a forced loan. Both are government debts. So they pay government employees and government contractors and everybody Federal Reserve notes. I mean, that's what everybody gets nowadays. And that's what's so evil about it all, quite frankly.
Well, they made you an employee through the Social Security
Yeah,
Act
right.
and through the birth certificate.
Right.
So now you're an employee of the federal government. And you're
Yeah.
part of their
Right.
construct. Unless you claim you're not a United States citizen out of those things.
Forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military despotism. It makes it so the courts presume that you do not pay. You know, there's one thing that you can do as far as that is under a treaty. Under Treaty 95-20, which is, that treaty is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
Oh,
Congress ratified that as a treaty in 1995. And where that is powerful is because in Article 1, it says all people have the right to self-determination. That means I say whether I'm a U.S. citizen or not you or not your computer database. I say it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's in the League of Nations too.
Yeah.
Part of the articles for nation state.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much the League of Nations affects us. I mean, under the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land, unless it's been ratified as a treaty, then it doesn't really mean anything. You know what I mean?
See, there's an issue with the ICCPR. I'm familiar with Article 1, the self-determination. The issue with it that I'm not certain of is the fact that it's not, it hasn't been, what's the right word, accepted by the Congress. It hasn't been ratified.
Well, what I
So
got
you
is
have to.
it was
you have to
ratified
invoke it.
as a treaty in 1995. There's a Treaty 95-20.
But it wasn't put into something. I forget what the word is. So you have to make a declaration that you're invoking it. It's not for general acceptance. David Strait brought that up. That it's not. You can't just call it out. You have to invoke it. So if you're in
So
court,
calling it out is not invoking it?
what do you mean calling it out?
Well, you just said you
Naming
can't call it out.
Naming it would be invoking it.
No, it wouldn't, because the way it's written by the government, the United States was one of the last ones that accepted it, and the way it was written in Congress was that it wasn't,
You know, I need to see that. You know, David Strait he's interesting, but I don't necessarily, you know, he's interesting. You know, that's all I can say. He's got some interesting stuff, but
Now, are you talking actually about the International Court on Human Rights, or?
no, IC's
No.
International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nelson, I see the password for the Wi-Fi,
It's
but what is
wrong,
the
it's
name of the
wrong,
Wi-Fi?
it's
Oh.
wrong anyway. It's my mistake.
what happened to you guys? You find some girls out there or something?
1145
Dinner.
Central.
Dinner, been
Alright.
shopping.
is the-
Oh,
Wi-Fi name?
yeah.
Okay,
Password is just Central Ave 1, all lowercase.
Central F1, okay.
All lowercase.
So anyways, forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military despotism. I need to look at that, what you're talking about with David Strait. I'm not saying it's not true, but the information I have is it was ratified as Treaty 95-20, which makes it a treaty. but, you know, maybe it's not lawfully enacted as a treaty. I don't know, Congress does all sorts of crap, and, so, you know, I wouldn't put it past them for a second. But anyways, forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military despotism. Makes it so the courts presume that you do not pay a debt. And the reason we're talking about forced loans, yes.
For Corey's benefit, could you back up just the 2 slides and start with the cryptocurrency, or is not forced loans, because that way he'll kind of catch up.
Well, and
There's only a couple, there's only one.
Okay.
Okay.
yeah, cryptocurrency is not a forced loan. Anything can be used as a means of exchange as long as we agree to it. And then Supreme Court in Juilliard versus Greenman said the forced loans of 1862 and 1863 in the form of legal tender notes were vital forces in the struggle for national supremacy. They formed a part of the public debt of the United States. During the Civil War, they paid government employees with treasury notes. Government employees were forced to loan the government money. And it's continued to this day. Federal Reserve notes are forced loans. When the government employees are paid treasury notes or bank notes, Federal Reserve notes or bank notes, it's a forced loan. They're legal tender notes, and both are government debts. Forced loans is probably the single most important thing for a military dictatorship. It makes it so the courts presume that you do not pay anything. Gold is the money of kings, silver is the money of gentlemen, barter is the money of peasants, and debt is the money of slaves. This is Carlisle versus United States, U.S. Supreme Court, 1873. The rights of sovereignty extend to all persons and things not privileged that are within the territory. So everybody is sovereign as long as you don't participate in a privilege. And we read earlier that when you use Federal Reserve notes, you discharge debt with limited liability. Discharging debt with limited liability is a privilege. And that's why they tax you, because you're using the private money system, and it's a privilege. And so then you lose your sovereignty. That goes to the Clearfield Doctrine. Same thing in the Clearfield Doctrine. Governments, and we'll talk about that further. But so they extend, so the rights of sovereignty extend to all persons and things not privileged that are within the territory. They extend to all strangers resident therein, not only those who are naturalized, but to those who are domiciled therein, having taken up their abode with the intention of permanent residence, but also to those whose residence is transitory. All strangers are under the protection of the sovereign while they're within his territory and owe a temporary allegiance in return for that protection. Federal Reserve was set up under the insurance laws of the United States. Federal Reserve notes are worthless insurance script. Anything purchased with worthless insurance script is the property of the issuer of the script. Taxes are the fee for the using the private money system.
Isn't that fucked up?
Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to follow me on Steam at Sovereignty International. Don't forget to like this video on YouTube. Don't forget to click the bell next to the subscribe button so you're notified when there's a new upload. And on Steam don't forget to vote and make your comments. That's my YouTube channel. The subscribe button's already clicked, otherwise it'll be red. The bell is not clicked, and the arrow is pointing at the bell because when the bell is clicked, it looks like it's vibrating. There's a form that was developed by Kerry on the jurisdiction conference call that is sponsored by the Republic of Texas. Okay, the call is sponsored by the Republic of Texas, not the form. This form number is a number that Kerry gave it. There's other people that call it other numbers. I've seen people call it the form 1013. Okay, so you can call it any old number you want it. It's a homemade form. And a form is a legal document with blank space to be filled in by the drafter to be used in court. Okay, that's why it's called a form. This is what the form looks like. This is page 1. It's only a 2-page form. If this is one that I did with the IRS. So this is up closer. It says, notice to attorneys at Internal Revenue Service. An attorney or private corporations assume to know the law. It's an obligation of an attorney or private corporation to see that any alleged taxes are collected lawfully, correctly, and completely in order to correctly, quote, pay this alleged taxes, American Engineering Services, so you can use it whether you're a man, a woman, or a corporation, it doesn't matter. Requires following information from attorneys at IRS, Internal Revenue Service, Complete this form and return it to the address you have in file to enable American Engineering Services to understand and lawfully comply with the alleged taxes. This form raises formal legal questions with regards to the alleged taxes that only your attorneys can answer. Under the caption amount due by January 9, 2020, what does the number 45622 refer to? And then obligations to the United States government, national bank currency, bonds, certificates of indebtedness, Federal Reserve notes, bills, other. Explain. Does the statement refer to consideration of obligations or other securities of the United States directly or indirectly? Yes or no? Does the computation of these alleged taxes require consideration of obligation or securities of the United States directly or indirectly? Yes or no? And it goes on. Does the computation of these alleged taxes require consideration of obligations or other securities of the United States directly or indirectly? Yes or no? Most individuals can complete this form in 3 minutes. You're required by law, UCC 3-104 and 3-115, to complete this form before any payment can be made. As a private corporation, you're assumed to know the law and not misleading. You made several statements in this Notice CP 160 to American Engineering Services that American Engineering Services owes something to somebody. It is your obligation to answer the foregoing questions on Form 1020, or a default will be issued by American Engineering Services against Internal Revenue Service, a private corporation, for trying to mislead American Engineering Services by asking American Engineering Services for something that fails to be owed, or you don't know what that something is. So as attorneys, you're assumed to know the law. And then this is page 2. I'm an attorney at Internal Revenue Service, a private corporation. I've read the foregoing Form 1020. I know it to be true, correct, complete, not misleading in any way. I declare under penalty of perjury the foregoing is true and correct. Executed on this date, print the name, sign the name, bar number.
So how many have signed?
They will never fill this thing out.
That's fun.
This Form 1020 must be completed and returned within 15 days of mailing, delivery, filing. Failure to complete and return this Form 1020 in 15 days will result in a default being prepared for Internal Revenue Service based on the information American Engineering Services has, and the default is your admittance that the taxes that was provided to American Engineering Services was an error or in violation of the law, nor the mailing would be needed. Failure to provide American Engineering Services with requested information in the time allowed by the attorneys at Internal Revenue Services are admitting that with their silence that the Internal Revenue Service is dishonest. Estoppel arises where a person is under duty to another to speak, or failure to speak is inconsistent with dishonest dealings. Silence by Internal Revenue Service will be treated by American Engineering Services that taxes are dishonest dealings and balance is paid in full.
What did you file this yourself?
I sent it to the IRS.
You never got it back.
Well, I got a letter back. I can show you the letter. I can show you what their response is. It's going to be here. It was like in January of 2020 when I sent it, and that was when all this coronavirus stuff was going down, and so they sent a letter in about May or June, and it said, please give us some more time to answer this letter, basically, okay? And then, and they actually sent another one in September, and then I got their answer in October, and you'll see what it is. Anyways, I have exclusive content available on my website and on Patreon. My website has 2 subscription levels, and I accept cryptocurrencies. The basic subscription level is $29.99 a year for the videos only, $49.99 a year for the videos, plus unlimited consultations. Now, in the interest of disclosure, that should actually say email consultations, because if you want to have voice communications, it's a donation, and if you want me to review documents, it's a donation. But it's unlimited email consultations. I'm not a liar. Well, I meant an attorney. No, I meant a liar. But I can tell you what I would do under certain circumstances and where to find the forms. The only power that the New World Order Satanists have over us is through fraud and deception, and my agenda is to expose it for all our benefit, but I cannot fight all the battles. I need other people being on point and fighting the battles as well. Some of my exclusive content is an Arlington private information share. I have land deed training, there's about 3 videos about that. I've got estoppel certificates training, I got foreclosure estoppel certificates training, I got corporate denial training, I've got toll roads notice and demand training, I got invoice training, I got notice of void judgment training, I got revocation of signature training, I got third-party witness training, federal habeas corpus training.
How about we go through some of those?
Good if you want. I have revocation of voter registration, I have criminal complaint training. I've got, matter of fact, that was one of the things I was going to go through is a new procedure I have for criminal complaints. But I've got about 3 videos on that. We could make another one on that easily. I have lawsuit training. I've got 1 video on that. There probably needs to be more, but that's all I've got right now. Other training requests, depending on what you're looking for, I might have it already up there. I don't believe in doing a bunch of redundant videos. If you're looking for a certain video, I would suggest you go to my website, sovereigntyinternational.fyi, because there's a page on there, it's a free page, and it's got links to all my YouTube videos by categories. And so if you're looking for a certain, you can study it by categories, and you can find them there based on categories. So that makes it easy, because when you're on YouTube, you don't know where they're all at, and YouTube doesn't really organize them in any way. Anyways, I've also got Northeast Private Information Share videos. All forms, files, and other instructions are available for free on my website, sovereigntyinternational.fyi. All exclusive content's available on my website, and you can buy a subscription there. And I also have a Patreon channel. This is the answer the IRS sent me. And they sent it on September 25th, 2020. There it is closer. It says, thank you for your inquiry dated January 27, 2020. We approved your request to remove the penalties. However, we only grant penalty relief because you have a good history of filing and paying on taxes. This type of penalty removal is only available one time. We'll base our decisions to remove any future penalties on reasonable cause criteria. The balance due in your account is not due to past due tax. It was due on the penalty charge for late filing of your Form 1065. We will remove the penalty and you will receive a notice regarding the status of your account. And actually, I never did file that Form 1065.
What is 1065?
That's a partnership tax return.
Okay.
And that's for American Engineering Services. What happened is, in the last time I worked was in 2015, and I worked for about 6 weeks, and I made about 10 grand. And so that got reported, okay, and I never did file a tax return on that, quite frankly, and so that's what this was all about, for late filing, Pete, because I never did file it, actually. Anyways, we approved your request to remove the penalties. However, we only granted penalty relief because you have a good history of filing and paying on time. This type of penalty removal is only available on one time. We'll base our decisions to remove any future penalties on reasonable cause criteria. The balance due on your account was not due to past due tax. It was due to a penalty charge for late filing of your Form 1065. We have removed the penalty. You will receive a notice regarding the status of your account. If you have questions, you can call 800-829-0115. If you prefer, you can write to the address above of the first page of this letter. When you write, include a copy of this letter and provide your telephone number and the hours we can reach you in the spaces below. Keep a copy of this letter for your records. Thank you for your cooperation. And there, it's the bottom. It's that's where it's signed by Sharon Davis, Program Manager. So my contact information is sovereigntyinternational.wordpress.com, my blog. My website is sovereigntyinternational.fyi. My email address is engineerwin@yahoo.com. My YouTube profile, Sovereign Living. My Facebook community page is deleted. My private group called Sovereignty International on Facebook is being deleted. Quite frankly, I haven't been to Facebook in months, if not, many months. And I have no intention of going there. My Yahoo private group is called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. My Google private group is called Administrating-Your-Public-Servants. Actually, the Yahoo group has been taken down by Yahoo. They have deleted all of their groups. That's now a freelist.org group. I migrated that all over to freelist.org. Follow me on Twitter at Engineer Win. Follow me on Steemit at Sovereignty International. I've got a BitChute channel. I have a library channel, which is now Odyssey, and I have a Patreon channel. Some of my other videos: Bankster Thieves playlist, my Roman cult playlist, my bankrupt corporate so-called governments, my bar members 1 through 5 is actually now 1 through 6, and I've actually got a number 7 I could present this weekend. Do it yourself, how not to volunteer for the selective service in the draft. Martial law is here. Do it yourself, no income tax. Do it yourself, free mail 1 and 2, and then there's free mail follow-up, and there's one that I was thinking about doing actually here. I'm not sure if I've got that one ready to go or not about free mail. Do it yourself kangaroo courts 1 through 19, Canada Border Pigs playlist, bar members and their Satanic Connections playlist. So, Form 1020 enforcement. This is Uniform Commercial Code 3-603. If the tender or payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument and the tender is refused, there is discharge. To the extent of the amount of the tender of the obligation of an endorser or accommodation party having a right to, of recourse with respect of the obligation to which the tender relates. So we were talking about that earlier, or no, it was you we were talking about it, where Kerry goes in there with Colombian currency or something like that.
Yeah,
Eh?
with a witness.
Right.
So it says, to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument. So
Right.
you have to be careful who you're making the payment to.
Right.
It's gotta be someone who's.
So
paid-
actually, it should be to the judge, because he's the one that enforces it.
Well, this is a person in the organization that's entitled to enforce the instrument.
Right. You got to find out who that is.
So in the collection, let's say the Claims Bureau for Pennsylvania, there's somebody in there, it's probably the solicitor who's paid to enforce the instrument,
Probably.
right? So if you send it to the Claims Bureau superintendent, but send it through the solicitor, now you've got both of them.
But you just can't send it in to the secretary or
No,
something. She's
no.
not an enforcer of anything.
Actually, you're better off hand carrying it in and
Right.
saying, I want to pay to.
Well,
the
but so
person."
that's why what I do is I send it to the regular address where you send it, the Form 1020, and I send it to their attorney.
Yep.
Okay?
They're going to enforce the instrument, right?
Because they're the ones ultimately responsible for enforcing it.
And also, when you do send it, registered mail, how do you send it? Do you send it with
I send it
a
certified.
stamp on there?
I send it certified, and that's, in a case like that, I want to make sure I get it there, and I want to make sure I have tracking,
Yeah.
and all the rest of it, so I usually just pay the postage. I don't use the pre-mail because it doesn't necessarily track. You see what I'm saying?
Some people believe that registered mail is just for securities, so this isn't really a security, it's a billing issue, right?
Now, would stamps be different on an envelope, sending it instead of using their
You
computer
can
rights?
use stamps, but I would make sure that it's enough, that the post office is happy with the postage, that they don't send it back to you for insufficient postage or something.
Now, what
See
he's
what I'm
saying is
saying?
if he goes to the post office to get it posted, they'll put a meter stamp on there. He's asking, should they put stamps
Well, he
on
might
it?
be asking that. See, you're assuming he's asking for something, but he
Sorry.
might also be asking for something about 2 cents mail.
What are you asking about?
No, I'm asking, does it make a difference to get out of their system and use, instead of the meter mail,
Well,
use your
you can go
original
to-
stamps?
You can go to the clerk and use original stamps. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, the one they print, I think, is a stamp anyways. It's metered, yes, but it's a stamp too. Anyways, so they just vary the amount of the stamp. You know, it's a custom-made stamp. You know, so I'm not sure if people say that they're, you know, again, it comes down to the United States Postal Service versus United States Post Office. So there's nothing stopping you from using stamps. I don't think that really makes a difference though, because you're clearly in commerce, okay? You're offering to pay, okay? They're saying you have to pay something. All of that's clearly in commerce. And you're not trying to take yourself out of there into common law. You're just basically holding their feet to the fire as far as the Constitution's concerned. And so, you know, I would say that you're clearly in commerce. When you're offered to pay, then you're saying, let's pay. You know what I mean?
So for the postage, something happened to me 2 days ago when I brought something in. I said, would you please post this? And they put stamps on it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Instead of
That's
stamp.
interesting.
Yeah, they put stamps on it. I never asked for stamps, I just said, would you please post this?
Wow.
So,
Nice.
I
think
just
about-
got done doing a proof of life, and every form, front and back of each paper had a stamp in the bottom with my signature for your stamp.
So you were the postmaster for those
Right.
documents.
So anyways, once you build your case and collect your evidence, use it to file judicial complaints against the bar and bar complaints. The judicial complaints are for perjury of oath and being thieves. The bar complaints are for perjury of oath and representing you without authority and being thieves. I mean, depends on your local state as to what charges you can charge them with. But I definitely, there's lots of felonies that you can charge them with. And, or basically make criminal complaints
So
over.
you, Glenn, you have judicial complaints up there are for perjury, but the judge isn't involved at this stage yet, right?
You might be.
Oh,
What if you got a traffic ticket? And you're doing it over the traffic ticket?
okay. I buy that.
And I don't know, my attitude is that with judges, I like throwing mud against the wall anyways. You never know what's gonna stick. And so I just accuse them of all sorts of stuff anyways. And, who knows what'll happen, you know what I mean?
Do you have some of your complaints typed up that,
I have Word files, we can go over them. I have some that I've actually filed. I got a bunch that I've actually filed, but,
I'd like to see them to see what your approach is.
I can email them. They're usually like 2 pages.
Yeah, that's
One
what
or
you
2
need.
pages.
All you need to do is get on the record, right?
Well, well, in Texas, it has to start off under their statutes. It has to start off in the authority and under in the name and under the authority of the state of Texas. And then I have reason to believe and do believe that so and so perjured their oath of office, and then here's why. And I attach evidence. See what I'm saying? That's just a couple pages.
That's
And then
not-
your evidence might be 20 or 30 pages, but the actual affidavit, the problem is that it's a lot of affidavits and that gets expensive, notarizing all that stuff, you know?
But I take my stuff to the bank and they notarize it for free.
Yeah.
I guess you could, that's an interesting approach, I'll have to think about that.
Do you have a WSFS bank down in Texas?
What's a WFS bank?
WFSF. It's a
No, well,
brand of bank.
there might have, I've never heard of it, but you never
It's
know.
called Wilmington Safety Fund Society, I think.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Texas, the banks take
No.
crypto, yeah?
Sorry?
In Texas, the banks will take Bitcoin as a collateral towards a home or a property or a car.
I
Now,
haven't
we're
heard that.
talking about notarization.
I haven't heard
Oh.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that.
What about asking the judges? Is that on your list, asking them for a sworn registration statement?
You could. I mean, they're all bar members.
Well, they're supposed to have
I
it.
would not just ask them. I mean, I do everything in writing. You know, you ask them and you're letting them off the hook, they're gonna weasel out of it. And, I put it in writing. I'll file a document. Matter of fact, I'll say he doesn't have one. I
No,
say
absolutely not. None of
he's
them have it.
committed. I'll let him prove he has. And that's what I do with the bar members. I'll say he doesn't have one. And I'll let him prove he has. You see what I'm saying?
So
And-
here's something interesting I found out about oaths of office. Half of the judges that I've been involved with have an oath of office, but they don't have a seal on it. And the reason I discovered this was the judge that heard my first case, I got his oath of office, got a certified copy, it had no seal on it. The judge that they passed the next case over to, I got her oath of office and it had a seal on it. It had a gold seal that was from the state on there, right over where it says seal. So they're both the same equivalent judges, and in fact, she signed his as the administering the oath for him, but they didn't put a seal on it. And
So
she had a
it's
seal
no
on
good.
hers. And I looked in the recorder's office, and she was actually granted a license as a notary public before she became a judge. So she knew what to do on her own, but she didn't do it for his. So there's something going on there where they're not putting the seal on there. And then I ran across 22 CFR 92.22 or something like that. And it says that all oaths of office, it's a federal code of federal regulations, all oaths of office must have a notarial seal on it to be valid.
Wow, that's good to know. That's something that I was completely unaware of.
Yes.
Send me
And
the
there-
reference for that.
And guess what 22 CF 22 is? Title 22 is foreign employees or foreign officers, something like that.
I seen a video on that one time and they threw it out because it was void, because of no seal.
Yep.
And she was explaining the whole form, everything, and she says, look at the bottom here.
Yep.
Signature, no seal.
Right.
Go on.
Right on. Yeah, that's good to know. That's another impersonating a public servant.
Yes.
That's a felony.
Yes.
Okay, so these are examples of the Form 1020 that I've done. My brother in Canada, and in Canada he couldn't use Uniform Commercial Code because they don't have it as the Uniform Commercial Code in Canada. In Canada it's called the Personal Property Security Act. Okay, so we had to find the sections that were relevant in there, but you know, he did that, and he sent it again. You send it at the very top of that Form 1020 that I showed you. As a matter of fact, I can show you some examples. I'll show you the ones that I did with the property taxes. Anyways, so what my brother did was he'd been out of work. He's a directional driller on oil rigs, and so he makes a lot of money when he works. Probably, you know, maybe $200,000-300,000. But he's been out of work. What?
I'm sorry. I was going to ask you to put up 22 CFR 92.21. That's the one that has the notarial certificate to oath or affirmation.
22 CFR
92.21.
92.21.
21, yeah. The jurat must be signed and sealed by the notarizing officer.
Wow, that's perfect.
Scroll up a little bit, and you see it says the code, electronic code for federal regulations, foreign relations, Department of State, blah 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 blah. So it's under foreign relations. These are all foreign entities, right, that are dealing in these courts.
Yep. Yep.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really cool. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture.
When I got Ocean City to sign all those 65 cops and everybody else, they notarized everyone.
Because they knew that they were fucking screwed up, right?
They were all of a sudden wanting to do everything by the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they got caught. If they didn't, then they'd really be in hot water.
Billy, Uncle Billy, made it back, doubled it, plus another 35K. All since I said that.
So that you're mentioning,
This is the biggest trade I've ever made in my life. This coin went up 130% in 1 hour. It's going to drop.
Over
So
the
I-
weekend?
No, in 1 hour today.
Yeah, wow.
So I ended up putting in the position. To
Okay.
short it.
Yeah, what I was figuring is after we're done here, we'll let you go through your little spiel, whatever you want to present, if you're ready to do it.
Yeah, well, I was going to answer any questions you guys had. I'll tell you what I do and
Yeah, that's
how I
fine.
do it, and
Okay.
Yeah,
and
let
here
him
to help
finish
you
up.
guys.
Huh?
I said, let him finish up first.
Right,
Or
yeah, once I'm done. Okay, so, oh, I was looking for my, an example. Before I got rudely interrupted.
You could back in.
won't be
It's
the,
all right.
won't be the
I
last
wasn't,
time.
it wasn't you that would get backhanded, it was Ed.
You still haven't hit the roof.
No, I'll be
You're
okay.
you're still good?
I'm okay, yeah.
Not too much pressure. You need a
Um,
boiler expert.
Montague County,
Something with this certificate. Getting dangerous.
Okay, Form 1020. See, that's how it's done there.
Certified mail.
I sent them certified, yeah.
I really like the subconscious psychology of the Form 1020. It sounds official.
It undermines the 10th floor.
It was before the 1040.
Yes. It overrides it.
I love it.
Okay, so this, I got PDF Pro on here, the damn thing crashes all the time. But so, anyways, I sent it to the tax assessor, collector, the county attorney, and this law firm that was involved in it too. And so there it is right there, there's the whole thing, 2 pages, and then a copy of the tax forms, right, front and back, and this is the proof of service right here. And so that's the Form 1020. That's the final notice of default. Let's see if I got the other one here. No, I don't, so I'll get the other one. Whoops. Not that one. This one. This is the notice of default and opportunity to cure, and it's really just one letter, 1 page. It's just 1 page I add on to it, right? And it basically says that you're in default of providing a method of payment. You're notified your attorneys have failed to complete this form that was served on you, and 2 copies of proof of service are attached here too, all of which are incorporated herein by reference in their entirety. This is an effort to pay a debt. I need to know how to lawfully satisfy this requirement. I've attached a copy for your reference. I've been receiving your threatening mail, which demonstrates you intend to conspire to threaten, coerce, and press intent injure me in the free exercise of my right to lawfully take care of this matter, since you're saying I owe you something. This has given me great evidence against you and your handlers and your intent to engage in multiple felonies, official oppression, mail fraud, sending threatening mail, impersonation, perjury, both, and more. Have a great day.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Anyways, so that's my notice of default, and it's just 1 page, right? And it's just a letter is all it is. And then the final notice of default says, a notice of default and opportunity to cure was served on you on the 7th of September. You're in default of providing a method, and you're notified that your attorneys have failed to respond. You're in default of providing a method of payment. You're notified your attorneys have failed to respond. It was served on you on the 27th of August. And this is an effort to pay a debt. I need to know how to lawfully satisfy this requirement. So it's basically all the same stuff. This is your final notice of default, and your failure to provide the required information means that I owe nothing. Have a great day.
Glenn, how
And I
many
attached
days
everything
between
else.
the original, I mean, how many days notice did you give on each?
15 days in between each one.
Okay.
And what I'll do is, it's basically 2 weeks, and I'll actually put it in the mail a couple days before, because it'll take a couple days to get there.
Right.
And, you know, or it'll be a couple days late, you know, whatever. I don't worry about it too much. What I usually do is I'll prepare them and have them all ready to, and I'll have the date that I need to take it to the post office written on the outside of the envelope where they put the stamp. And so then I have it all ready to go, and I don't have to think about it. It'll be sitting there in my pile of stuff that I need to do. So on that date, I'll just take it down to the post office and.
I would say technically you could go with 7 days between it for this reason. They've sent you a bill, they should know what the fuck they're asking for. You don't have to give them 15 days to tell you what they're asking for, they put it on the bill, right?
I know.
Yeah, you know, I don't know. This is Carrie's form, and I just follow Carrie's procedure, and I like it. It works pretty good. Anyway, so what happened is,
But I think if you're, you know, if you wanna try to do it quicker, you could probably do it quicker. You don't have to if you don't want to.
what they do is, here's the 2020 tax statement, right? And it shows 73 and 11,
That's what they sent to you?
84. That's in 2020, okay? And that was what they were threatening to foreclose on. It's actually, they were threatening to foreclose on it. I was kind of surprised, and it was less than a year. But anyway, so, and then if you go here, if you still owe it, then the next year they'll send you a tax statement that says you owe this in back taxes plus you owe this in addition to it, right?
Interest, yeah.
Right. But in the 2021 they sent out, it just has the same stuff.
Not the old one?
Not the old one,
ones
that's
that are
right.
here?
That's right.
So they just keep attempting, is that your point?
Well,
No, he's saying it's gone.
actually, that's the one that I did was gone, but and then I transferred it is what I did. So now it's
They
not
would
under.
have sent you one every year at that point.
Oh, every year they send them out, right?
Oh, you transferred it to your trust or to you?
I transferred it to me from the trust. It was owned by a trust. It was Texas American Holdings that owned it. And with Texas American Holdings, if I get involved in a lawsuit, you know, they might
It'll show
pitch a
up.
fit and want an attorney or who knows what. And so I want it so that it's in my name, so then I'm the one that has to. There's guys that I helped, and we didn't even do the Form 1020, quite frankly, we just brought forward their land patent. There's a lady that I know that had a commercial building. It was a commercial building, it was a big, huge commercial building. And it was on this main drag in this town south of Fort Worth called Keene. And they actually sued her for property taxes. And then they dropped the case.
Did you know if you're a trustee of the trust, so if you have it in the trust and you're a trustee of the trust under Rule 17A1E, you can go in as the trustee?
Yeah, but I'm not the trustee in the trust. I'm never a trustee of any trust.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Never a trustee. Matter of fact, I have nothing to do. Any of those trusts, like the trust that owns American Engineering Services, I'm not a creator, I'm not a
Well,
grantor.
who's your trustee?
Somebody that I might hire them. It could be somebody I didn't hire.
So but the trustee can go in, they have,
Yeah, but
they can go in as a real party in interest to the trust as a
Yeah.
trustee.
well, and that particular trust, the trustee was up in New Jersey or up in Washington State, so I don't think they'd want to come down and get mixed up in that. Number one. Number two, what happened is I actually got someone else to be the trustee of that trust to sign the deed. You saw that deed that we signed that was that trust, right? And because in the trust it said that if the trustee resigned or disappeared, which he has, I tried to contact him a bunch of times and he doesn't respond. So I as a certificate holder, and I didn't even have certificates, but I figured, well, I'm the manager, so I think I'll just give myself a certificate for something. And then it says in the trust indenture that as a certificate holder, I can appoint a trustee. So I appointed one. And so, but I never ever, again, all of that's supposed to be arm's length, okay? You can't be the trustee, you can't be a beneficiary. You can't be anything to that trust. I'm hired as the manager, that's all, I'm an employee. And so that's a very powerful position to be in because you don't own it, you don't have any relationship to anything that's in it.
Well, what you're trying to avoid is the alter ego situation.
Right.
If you have yourself only as a trustee, but if you create dispersion and you have two trustees, now they can't claim alter ego, so you're protected from that. So what you always want to do is have two trustees, yourself and that other person or whatever.
Well, that particular trust,
Now they can't claim alter ego and come after you for that.
yeah, well, that particular trust, I hired these people to create it for me,
Okay.
and they created the LLC and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And the trust owned the LLC, and then another LLC that they owned was a partner in that LLC.
Is it an irrevocable trust?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
yeah, the issue with the IRS is that if you're a single trustee on your own trust, they'll get you for alter ego. But if you create dispersion and have multiple trustees, they can't declare that. So you always want to have at least two trustees.
Well, that's one way of approaching it, and that's good to know. But you're right about the alter ego. There's really only a couple ways that they can pierce the trust, and that's with an alter ego or, you know, commingling funds. You know, there's a couple ways, but
Yep.
you know, if you have everything set up so that that creates a problem for them, then they don't have those things available to
They
them.
can't claim alter ego with dispersion
That-
of trustees.
So that's Montague County. Henderson County was the same thing.
Glenn, just on that one, I'm guessing then because they've sent you another bill that you're still on the tax roll and all they did was discharge the debt from 2020.
Well, that's all the Uniform Commercial Code says even. Okay, it says only on the part that you tried to pay.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll keep coming back around every year, and what you do, what Kerry says to do, and I think he's right. See, they send you out, first of all, they send you, before they start sending you the bills pay, they'll send you a notice saying this is, and they'll say this is not a bill,
Yes.
right? And when they send that, that's when you start the Form 1020 process. And you do it every year. And, you know, if it's $10,000 a year and you do it every year, it's well worth it.
Oh yeah.
And with mine, you know, you saw the amount, it was like $90. So it's really, you know, and that's why I transferred it to me and brought forward the land patent, because now I'm going to go back there and rattle her cage and get it taken off the tax rolls, and then I'll never hear from them again.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that with the trust, because the trust is a taxpayer by definition under their rules. So I couldn't do it. I have to have it under my name to do that. And but once I get it taken off the tax rolls, it becomes judgment proof. It becomes bulletproof. I mean, if you understand the law with the land patents and everything, then they can't touch it for any reason. If you owe somebody $50 million and they know you own that land, still can't touch the land.
They have no territorial jurisdiction, they have no claim on the land.
Yeah, that's right. Well, but that was the intent of Congress when they passed those acts in the 1820s. It talks about it in there. And so you know, you're literally king on your own little piece of land. And these are actually quite small. They're about, you know, 40, 50 miles from Fort Worth, and they're along a freeway. So I could probably buy some more of those lots around there and get a decent sized piece of property. That's like 2/3 of an acre is what it is for this, what those was over, which is actually 4 lots that made up 2/3 of an acre. So they're tiny little lots.
Yeah, they're tiny.
And so, but I could buy up a bunch more, you know, and wind up with an acre or 2, but that'd be about it, you know. And I really would like to have like maybe 10 acres or maybe 40 acres, you know what I mean? So, but that's actually a pretty good location because it's not too far from a freeway. It's like 10 miles, and you're on a nice freeway that goes right into Fort Worth, you know. And so, and which is what I like, because I like to go to Costco and the mall and the movies and that kind of stuff, but I want to be out in the country too, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, you know, that's what my objective is. I've got land that's out in West Texas that's like 100 miles from El Paso, right? But that's like 100 miles from nothing. I mean, El Paso's a decent sized city, but you know, driving 100 miles to get to El Paso is a long ass ways. If you have to go and, gee, I forgot my nails. I got to go back and get nails or some stupid ass thing. You know what I mean? Because I'm building this house or something. You know what I mean? Or get some concrete delivered out to the middle of nowhere. You know?
I didn't get enough caulking for the windows.
Yeah, that's right.
$6 tube of caulking.
Yeah. Drive 100 miles. You know?
Right.
And so you know, that gets old real quick. You know? And so So I like to have it, you know, reasonably close and to civilization, and I like people. You just have to find the right people to surround yourself with, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really great people in Texas, let me tell you. But so anyways, let's go back to this. Montague County, that was Montague County. Henderson County is the same thing. I've been going around them. I can show you the deed.
Who do you have that addressed to? Can we see that?
County attorney, the law firm, and the county tax assessor collector. And that tax assessor collector, Kathy Phillips, is an attorney. That's one of the things I do, is I'll check and see if they're an attorney. Because now I can file a bar grievance. If they wouldn't have taken care of that, then that would have been the next step, would be to file a bar grievance against them.
Who's Purdue, Brandon, Fielder, Collins, and Mott? That sounds like a lawyer firm.
It's a law firm, that's what I said.
And they support the Montague or Montague County Attorney?
Yeah, they basically, when you're late on your taxes, then they're the ones that always sends out the nasty grams, and they probably get a kickback when you pay it. I'm sure they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's big time in Texas. It's always law firms.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, with that particular law firm, I had trouble finding out who the partners are, because that'd be another step I'd do, is I'd file bar grievances against all the partners in the law firm.
Oh, they'd be pissed off at you for
So-
a $90 bill and
Yeah.
you're filing bar grievances.
So they, you know, I think that's why they took care of it. They saw me coming. You know what I mean? And so they took care of it. But I think they would probably take care of it for anybody. You know, it's hard to say. I know other people that do. Carrie does this stuff all the time, and they take care of it. It disappears. You know what I mean? And actually, when you look in the Texas Constitution, it says that there's no. They call it there's a name for it. It's in one of my other videos. No state ad valorem taxes, that's it. That's property taxes,
Yep.
okay? And in the Texas Constitution, no state ad valorem taxes shall be levied upon any property within this state. So then now you got them for perjury of oath,
Wow.
you got them for all sorts of stuff. See what I'm saying? And so what they do is, if you read in there, basically corporations have to pay the tax because they have a franchise. And that's why I wanted to get it away from that trust and into my name. And if you read that deed, I'll get it out again and you can look at it. It talks about a man, not a U.S. citizen. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Is that a statute, the property taxes in Texas, or is that in their tax
That's the
handbook?
Texas Constitution.
Oh, in the Constitution.
1876, and it was approved 3-1 by the people.
Texas isn't the only one where that's written into the Constitution, I don't think. I thought Florida might have that in there too.
So if you read this, that's why I call it a bill of exchange. And they didn't have any trouble at all recording this thing either. Says, Texas American Holdings, grantor upon receipt of 25 each United States of America Silver Eagle 1 troy ounce pure silver coins, each which has a face value of $1 for a total value of $25 in lawful money, as payment in full does hereby grant, convey, and exchange to Glenn Winningham, House of Fern, a man on the soil of Texas, holder of the office of the people, a Texas national who feels to be a Sister K Trust / U.S. citizen, the grantee. And then they're both notarized. So this is my latest one, and so I would say this one is probably the best. I guess it depends on how you want to do it, but I have the grantor signed it and the grantee signed it. Grantee accepted. And so that makes it really difficult for them. It's a contract. Gold or silver coin is the payment. You see what I'm saying?
You tied them up.
What was that lady that went in and she said something about, she was in foreclosure for 10 years in her house, so she couldn't afford to pay the taxes. What was the word she used when she went in there? to say-
Rendered. In
Rendered.
Texas,
Rendered.
in the tax code, it says you have to render it for taxation. So rendered is a word in their code. And that creates, that's why you bring up that issue about rendering. I like to show up in municipal court the name of their attorney, so I have a name to file bar complaints against. Sometimes I file nasty grams to make sure to get a copy, everybody and their brother into it. And those will be topics on upcoming presentations. But if the watchmen see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among you, he is taken away in his iniquity. But his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. So I guess I'm a watchman, right? Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. You are now a watchman. Circulate this video far and wide. At some point, we'll all be forced to do something. Anyways, that's the end of this presentation. The Henderson County one was the only one. I showed you Montague County. Henderson County was very similar. Henderson County is a little bit different. What happened is, and I can show you the deed. I've got the deed in here. I transferred it to myself, but I sent the deed to Henderson County without the filing fee. So what I need to do is make up an affidavit of acceptance, and then I'll attach it to the deed, right? And then I'll take the package to the county. I will take it then myself and get it filed and pay the filing fee. And but so I sent it without the filing fee, and so then they sent it back with a letter saying that you have to pay the filing fee, and but they said all persons, and that's not me. And on top of that, I sent it by registered mail, so I have proof of that. And so what happened was, and there's court cases, Texas court cases, that say that once they've received it, they filed it, regardless of whether they file stamped it or not.
Did you send it registered mail tax per cube?
No. So anyways, so their attorneys keep sending me bills for taxes for 5 years now, and I sent them when it first started. I sent them a copy of the deed, and I said I own this land. They send a bill to a Texas American Holdings, which is a trust, and what I do is I sent them a letter, and I said I own this property. They sold it to me, and you better not do anything or I'll sue your butt off. And so they know about it. And then I file bar grievances against them. I can get the names of all the attorneys in the law firm, so I file bar grievances against them so they know. And so they haven't done anything beyond just send me bills. But I did the Form 1020, and a bunch of it went away when I did it. And I didn't even finish the process, actually. But a bunch of it went away. And so so that's worked there too as well. But I need to, now that what I need to do is affidavit of acceptance, and then attach it all together and take it down and record it and pay their filing fee, and then if they want to fight about it,
Done with it.
yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, anyways, so that's about it. I suppose we'll let, what's your name again?
Corey.
Corey. I guess we'll let Corey do something here. And then that'll be it for today.
Yeah, and I believe we're gonna have, the steak will be grilled, and then Bill's making up some other kind of baked potatoes.
Yeah, yeah, he's making all sorts of stuff.
Definitely the best
Hey,
food.
How would it go, Glenn, to ask them, when you do send a letter, to show you the law to pay taxes? Because there is no law.
Yeah, well, and that's why the Form 1020, you're right. But that's an interesting idea, but they usually ignore that stuff and just go ahead and foreclose.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's like the IRS.
They
Yes.
just think
actually-
that everyone thinks that there is a law to pay
Right.
taxes, but there isn't.
What
Right.
you wanna do, Bill, is ask them questions they can't answer.
Right,
Those questions they can't answer.
right. On that it's been, you know, sent to them certified or something like that, and then you're, you know, you got your foot in the door, other than verbally asking them.
Well, you can't, it's all gotta be in writing and on the record. Because I think that 26 CFR, they use 26, they follow IRS codes, you know what I mean? And they're very arbitrary. Anyways, the recorder's on, do you want the recorder, you want it recorded?
No.
Okay.
Here's, Glenn, let me add something that you might wanna think about for your future notices.
Uh-huh.
The first notice, you wanna say, is it your intent to harm me,
Oh, I agree,
right?
I agree, that's great.
And then the next one, you say, okay, so based on your silence, you intend to harm me, and this would be a trespass on my property. Do you intend to trespass on my property?
Right.
And then you say, then I will take you